people's minds, and then it becomes a dent in their enrollment.
Yeah, no, that's for real. And I actually, Bakari, believe that that latter piece you just picked up on, impacting the enrollment of these institutions, for some people, that is the plan, right? To make the image such that people associate with an HBCU violence, not academic achievement and chain breaking and upward mobility. I got to say, I'm really of two minds about these events, particularly the ones that we hear broadcast out local, state, nationwide when it has to do with a historically Black college and university. The reason I'm of two minds, Bakari, is because I was an SJ president. I remember as an SJ president having to negotiate with the local law enforcement around what would law enforcement presence look like at the mall? What is the exit plan after the game? And are all streets going to be closed down? Or will we have some conveniences like Florida State University does when it has its games 4 or 5 times larger in population than ours? So I remember as a student activist trying to negotiate that space. Then I became mayor and people were discussing and negotiating that space with me. And from my standpoint, at that point, my only goal is safety, security, that people move in this space without feeling threatened to their life, to their body, to themselves, to their family, their loved ones. And I got to tell you, my biggest frustration, particularly as mayor, was anytime there was a violent event that occurred during FAMU's homecoming in the city, near the campus or away from it, was always broadcast as during FAMU's homecoming, there was a stabbing. During FAMU's homecoming, there was. Now, if a similar event happened, and I had the ability to have a PWI and an HBCU, both state schools in the same city, if an incident happened that was violent during a Florida State game or Florida State homecoming, it was never introduced into the news as it was a violent event at Florida State University's football game this weekend. So there's deliberate intention, in my opinion, and then there's what's real, and I think we have to deal with both.
Yeah, and I the way I look at it is from an SG.
Yeah, but here's the thing, man. They talked. Oh, I gave them a long time to talk, right? And they're not talking about anything. They're not. These niggas haven't addressed it at all, except for, well, it was a white school, and no shooting happened, but it was very violent at a white school this weekend, too. That's all these niggas have said. Press 1. Well, what about this white school where there was no shooting? What about this white school where there wasn't a shooting? That's literally what this nigga said. These are the niggas that are supposed to handle the problems in the Black community. I wasn't even shocked they even talked about it. But now that I hear them talking about it, I'm like, oh, okay. So they just wanted to do a show where they allegedly, so they should be like, yeah, we talked about all the shootings at HBCU homecoming. But really, if you listen, they not saying shit. These niggas ain't saying shit. These niggas ain't saying shit.
Gay perspective, because hopefully some SJ presidents and people who want to be in student body are watching this as well. You have to make sure, you have to begin to think of both minds as well.
Sure.
Because one of your number one priorities is not just having the best homecoming people remember or the best step show, is right now you have to make sure people are safe. And one of the things that I've learned from examining each of these incidents is much of the activity comes from people who are not students.
Of course not.
And not alums.
Of course not.
Right. And, you know, it kind of goes back to this age old adage that most HBCUs, you hear it all the time, most HBCUs are in some of our forsaken areas in Black communities, right? Save for Hampton.
Design.
By design.
Yeah.
Save for Hampton University. But I do think we have to think about that. And I think.
No, it's not by design, nigga. They put the school in the Black neighborhood. And the Black neighborhood is a slum in a hood. It's not this by design. They put it where you niggas live at. They talking about some by design. That it's in the worst neighborhood by design. No, it's where you niggas live at.
People who are not students.
Of course not.
And not alums.
Of course not.
Right. And, you know, it kind of goes back to this age old adage that most HBCUs, you hear it all the time, most HBCUs are in some of our forsaken areas in Black communities, right? Save for Hampton.
Design.
By design.
Yeah.
Save for Hampton University. But I do think we have to think about that. And I think that it takes people having some foresight and vision, college presidents, because sometimes they want to think they're on their own, SGA presidents, mayors of your local cities, and law enforcement officers. Somebody who did it right recently, although it wasn't necessarily an HBCU in their city, was Randall Woofin. Randall had the Magic City Classic in Birmingham, went off without a hitch. He has a great police chief. He worked with both college presidents, both schools, campus police, and it went off without a hitch. And so the question is, I mean, do you So I'll pose it to you. Do you make sure that others can't access your campus? Do you fortify your campus? Do you increase law enforcement? You know, I'm of the mind that I think that there has to be some process whereby only those people that are participating in homecoming events or football games can come into those spaces. Those people who want to tailgate, I don't know if it's a ticketing process. And I don't know how I feel about an increased police presence. However, I do think that state law enforcement, you know, in South Carolina, we have our South Carolina State Troopers. They do the same thing at Clemson and South Carolina State. Clemson and University of South Carolina on game days. You need to be monitoring traffic, making sure there's no standstill.
Niggas, are they going to talk about niggas traffic?
Definition, and I think differently than PWIs or any really other institution.
No, sure. Yeah.
Right. So because of that, it is the center of gravity. It is where people come together, from Miami to Jacksonville to Atlanta. If you are in driving distance and you know fun is about to be had, you're about to see some stuff you ain't seen before, running into some type of people you don't usually run with. It attracts people. But guess what? Most of our cities want to attract people to them.
Correct.
The difference is that we then apply a whole entirely new and different standard to what safety and security looks like once we get those folks coming to our communities. So what I would say this is, when you're talking about a traffic plan, management plan, run by the city, or you're talking about surveillance around the stadium, or you're talking about your local attractions like the mall and what that would look like, at some point it became pretty obvious that a decision was made not to treat people coming into our communities for homecomings and for big games like that as normal, fun-loving, family-oriented people who just want to have a good time and have something to do. We started erecting big barricades at the malls, so the first floor and the second floor couldn't see each other. You couldn't throw anything over.
Oh, that's crazy.